Hello everybody and welcome back to the Peacemakers channel. My name is Sarah Rouge and this is...
I'm Joshua Rouge.
He's my husband and I had the great idea to do a video on marriage tips, Christian marriage tips in particular, to help anybody who is already married or anybody who wants to prepare for marriage to be able to have the best marriage possible centered around Christ. And so I have some questions and we'll just discuss some different things that can help you guys to prepare and keep your marriage centered around Christ. So our first topic will be, how do you prepare to attract the right person into your life? And what would you say about that, Joshua? What's one of the best things that anyone can do to prepare to attract somebody?
Well, as one of the foremost experts on this, I
brought him in particularly for this question.
Yeah. I spent a lot of my life thinking about what I wanted specifically in a woman. And those thoughts kind of got me more into what would she want in me. And so I started thinking about those attributes that were really important to me and the attributes that might be important to the person that was important to me. And I started to try and exemplify those a lot. And it became sort of habit. It became a part of who I was. So I would say, beyond that even, the greatest way to attract somebody is to be yourself.
So that's really a true point though. We always put so much emphasis on like what we want in somebody else, and those are good things to think about, but bringing those characteristics back to yourself and honestly thinking, am I already doing what I want my partner to be doing? So showing yourself that dedication is going to be a huge thing. And building confidence is another one. I think confidence is talked about a lot, but honestly for me, there's a ton of people that I've talked to that say like, I can't find somebody, and I ask them, I'm saying, what are you actually doing to find that person? Like, do you put yourself out there and talk to people? How often do you talk to people? And they say, I don't have anybody that I like I don't want to talk to anybody. And I say, even practicing talking to people will help you to feel more comfortable. So when that right person comes, then you will be on your A game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's a good one. And then moving on to the next one, which kind of perfectly is on the point that I said before, how do you actually find that person?
Yeah. And for me, that was ridiculously easy. I had so many worries coming off of the mission that I served for our church that I would never be able to find her, that she wasn't out there. And then I found her just a couple weeks later. But the important part of that was, beyond anything else, and without a doubt, relying on the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Asking Him to guide me, and then when I found her, asking Him if she was the right one for me. And really, when I did that, and we're not saying this will happen for everybody, but this is how it happened for us.
It's a promise you guys from us.
Yeah. But with that, the Lord just guided every aspect of our lives until we were brought together in a way that allowed us to get married, and now we have our little baby girl on the way as well.
Yes, so using the Lord's direction is such an important thing, and it's something that's often said, and the question is like, how do you actually be able to seek out that direction? And part of that comes from building up a relationship with Christ and really knowing how to recognize His voice and putting your mind in a place to be able to seek after Him always. And going to church, doing all these different things is going to help you to be put in a place to find that person. And there's a lot of different ways that you can actually meet people now. They have like Christian dating apps, they have church, they have social events, college, there's tons of different ways, and there's more people out there than you know. So just putting yourself out there is going to be super important, and using the Lord's direction and discernment and knowing if that person is a good fit for you.
Yeah.
And then now we will be going into the actual dating section. And one of the most common things, and it's something that is really hard to talk about, but it's something that a lot of people struggle with. So if it's something that is hard for you, you are not alone in your struggle. And this is how do I keep my standards and communicate them in a relationship? Because that can be really scary and hard, and something that not a lot of people like to talk about.
Yeah, this was really hard for us. And I think it's hard for everybody, really, unless you're a really special person.
Yeah, unless you're just, yeah.
But we communicated this a lot, and we talked about this a lot, and so we were able to pretty much keep to our standards. We weren't perfect at it, but we kept to our standards, and we tried our best to be clean and prepared for when the day of our marriage came. So going through that dating process was very difficult because that's when, you know, your hormones are at their highest and you're just super attracted to
and
each
Satan's
other.
probably going to try and destroy your guys' relationship in any way that he can, and tempting you. And part of that really comes down to setting clear boundaries beforehand. Before you actually get into the moment, it's so important to have those boundaries clearly set so that when you are in that moment, you're not having to make such a big decision as it would be if you had already made it before.
Yeah, and thank goodness we did. One of my boundaries that I had set since I was like an 8-year-old kid was that I wouldn't kiss a woman until we were engaged. So that was hard too as we were going through the dating process. Probably part of the reason we kind of sped that up a little bit, but I was able to keep to that promise that I made to myself and to God years ago, and I let Sarah know from the very beginning that that was what my plan was, and it worked out really well for us, because if I had done it any sooner, it might not have turned out so well.
Yeah, and something that a lot of people are scared of is actually communicating their standards. And I really say to that, if the person that you are dating doesn't respect your goals and your boundaries, then you need to ask yourself, is that person really the right fit for me? If I'm so scared to say something that's important to me and say that to them and they don't respect that, then maybe that person is not a right fit for you.
True love knows boundaries.
And they respect you and your relationship with God as well, and they want you to feel guiltless when you get married. So that is super important. And then now leading on to marriage, how do you actually keep your relationship centered around Christ when normal life hits and things become busy and stressful and eventually kids come into it, and it's just so hard to keep that balance? So what do you think?
Well, the biggest thing for me has been, because I have lost focus at times, and I think we both have. It's really hard. The biggest thing for me is to surround myself with people who also believe in Christ and who have strong testimonies of Christ. At one of my most difficult points, I was really kind of doubting God's place in my life. I knew He existed. I'd had experiences that I couldn't deny, but I still had such a hard time reconciling all the things that I was feeling and all the things that were happening to me with the fact that God loved me. So as I was going through that, I was able to go to a group where some ecclesiastical leaders came, and they talked about the atonement in a way that I'd heard before, but that I hadn't heard in a long time. And I realized the atonement of Jesus Christ, His sacrifice and resurrection, was something that I had a testimony of. And that if for nothing else, I want to be good for that reason. I want to be good because He did that for me. Because He gave me the ability to do so. So it was focusing on the atonement and, again, surrounding myself with good people that really helped me to recenter myself on Jesus Christ at one of my most difficult points.
I love that. That is so true. And the more that you prioritize God in your life, the more that you will feel His presence and His hand in your life. Something that we always try and do is companionship studies together once a week. And sometimes we're not very perfect. I mean, nobody is. But the focus and the emphasis on trying to do that as much as you possibly can will help the Lord guide and direct your relationship. And He helps soften your heart in things that might have been tough for you to be able to get around, like maybe you had been arguing or had been angry with one another. And being able to have those companionship studies, being able to turn to the Lord during the times when your anger gets the better of you and let Him soften your heart towards that person, those are very important things to do.
We have this little sheet that we've been using now that helps us work through arguments and figure out what our needs are as we're going through those, and it's been super helpful to go through that during our companionship study and other times.
Yeah, just having open communication is so important in any relationship, and having Christ-like and loving communication. Not making somebody feel attacked, and being able to soften your heart before you ever have any disputes or any discussions in anger. Being able to rely on God for His judgment first, because many times our judgment isn't perfect, but being able to let Him come in and have His grace fill our hearts, and then all of a sudden that situation isn't important anymore. So those are very good points, and I think that will be the end of this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it and found this video helpful, and let us know in the comments if there are any other questions you'd like us to address and anything else. And do you have anything else to say?
Be good.
Yep. So we'll see you next time on The Peacemakers.
Bye.